I'm Stephanie Tsai at the Toyota Solutions Studio at Women in the World, and I'm so pleased to be joined now by Ms. Asenath Andrews. And I'm going to call you Ms. Andrews because she's a school principal, or at least you were one, the founder and former principal of the Catherine Ferguson Academy and a 2012 Toyota Mother of Invention. It's really a pleasure to have you here in the studio.
Thank you.
Like I said, you were a principal and a founder of a school that for 20 years served teenage moms.
Yep.
Talk about the different ways that your school addressed the needs of these girls.
I think that looking back on it, and it was 30 years,
30
but looking
years.
back on it, it was, I think the most important things that we had, is so trite to say, but high expectations for every single young woman who came to our door. So we did not buy the hype that one, girls can't get along with each other, two, once you have a baby your life is over, or three, you have no future because you're a mother. And I had this just incredible staff that even when they couldn't see where I was going, they trusted me enough to follow, hoping we wouldn't fall off a cliff, you know. But for the girls and their children, a belief in them. So for 19 years, every single girl that graduated was accepted to a 2 or 4 year college. Wow. And you know, people say, well, were they really college ready? The only people who aren't college ready is somebody else's kids. We never say that about our own kids. But the most important part of that even was that I made clear to every girl that came in that that was my expectation for her future. Did she go when she first graduated? Did she graduate? That part, you know, when you work for a public school system, I didn't really think about that once they graduate, you're done. Yeah. You know, you're not supposed to, I told these girls that we got a college to take 10 of the girls at once and give them their own dorm with a nursery in it. And I said, I'll be down twice a month to see you. And the superintendent was like, they belong to that school, not right. Right. Exactly. They're not ours anymore.
Do you still keep in touch with any of the girls?
Oh my goodness.
I mean, they're women.
They are women. They are women. And I went to a graduation last year, and this woman came up and grabbed me and hugged me, and she said, "You see that guy? He's a valedictorian. That's the baby you delivered."
Wow.
So, you know, I see them everywhere. My sisters hate going places with me because there is no place. My mother was in the hospital. We saw girls there. We go to the farmer's market. We see girls there. I don't think I've been anywhere ever, except maybe here, where I haven't run into a girl. I did a talk a couple of weeks ago, and there was a former student, well, a lot of former students in the audience, but one of the girls, because I was a teacher.
You gave these
too.
Girls a chance when I imagine
Absolutely.
A lot of communities give up on teenage moms.
It is the tragedy of our times. Well, coming to some, it may not be the tragedy of our times, but from where I sit, because there are so few schools left. As far as I know, there are only 3 left in the country. Yeah. And so when you lose those moms, you lose those kids. And we really started to look at, it's not a real connection between fertility and dropping out of high school, but if you don't have a life plan, getting pregnant and having a baby doesn't interfere with anything. So you're not as careful. Yeah. And that's a tragedy because the brain power that we lose, we did a think tank the last year I was there, and we had a whole group of girls who were planning an intentional community. And
what is an intentional community?
Yeah, I didn't know either, you see? It is where you decide what the community is going to look like, how it's going to be built, who's going to live there, what roles they'll have when they're there. And the thing that I think struck me the most was that they said, well, Ms. Andrews, they were planning a community that I grew up in. It was what I thought normal communities were. But it was also just to see them, first of all, know that ideas are valuable. We paid them to think, and they had a responsibility to make sure that this community was balanced, and that it wasn't just the people, but they also had to think about living and green building materials and how you source those, and bioremediation.
And was this part of the curriculum?
It was their job. I hired them to think. Who hires women to think?
Right?
Yeah.
You received this grant from Toyota Mother of Invention, this program, in 2012. What difference did it make? I know that working in the public school system and building a school is not easy, that there must have been funding challenges. What difference did that grant make in your mission?
We were able to use that money for a lot of different things. We put some of it in the early education program for our babies and their children, the children of our moms. We also did some sort of vocational training. We taught girls to build solar suitcases that could be used in countries where women and midwives don't have access to electricity for deliveries. And then we just use it for general operational expenses.
Right. So it made a difference.
Oh, definitely.
And innovation was part of the curriculum at your school. I also understand it had a very global outlook, that was important to you. That these girls were from Detroit, but here was a chance to educate them about the world.
Absolutely. You know, I have always thought that there are a few things that when I go to heaven I'm going to have to answer for, and one of them now is that it took me so long to broaden their view to a global view. I always knew we had to get them out of the city, out of the school, into the country. So we traveled everywhere, took groups of girls all over the country doing all kinds of things. But it didn't occur to me to take them out of the country. And so some of the money for the Toyota grant or gift was to help these young women. We went to South Africa, and they did. They taught in an urban youth entrepreneur program, and they taught about urban gardening.
Wow. You said there are only 3 such schools left. The Catherine Ferguson Academy, I assume, closed. What are your hopes for the future, and what do you view your role as for these girls or for young women?
Boy, you know, I'm trying not to have a goal I'm
relaxing.
Trying to be retired. But I now sit on a charter school board of education. And I have boys for the first time that are over 3. So I'm looking at that in a different way. But I hope that and I've just joined a committee to try and provide services to pregnant and parenting teens citywide.
You're not retired.
I'm trying to retire. I'm trying to retire. My sister already told me, quit taking all these free jobs. Get a job that's going to pay at least. But so we're trying to find a way to offer services to pregnant and parenting teens citywide without having it be based in a school, but to use the schools that they're in to provide those services. I don't really believe that works, but I'm willing to see.
Right.
It didn't work for the last 100 years.
Yeah. You really feel like there need to be schools.
You need a cohort. You need some place to know that's safe.
Yeah.
You need to know that no matter what, you're valued and your life has value. Someone said tonight, women matter. And you need to know that you matter and your child matters because you wear the tattoo of your mother's sins if you're not careful.
Yeah, it goes back to that conversation about expectations and having high expectations of all children.
And it's such a simple thing. Yeah. You do what you're expected to do. You know, if your parents expect the best of you, you deliver. Yeah. For some of us, because it's life-threatening. For others, because your parents make it clear.
Mrs. Asenath Andrews, it's such a pleasure to be able to hear your insights. Thank you so much.
Thank you.